Hello, everybody. Welcome back to some more summer weekend League of Legends action brought to you by Aegis Esports as we start our coverage of the second open qualifier for the North American Challengers League group stage. We're officially out of the top 32 into the top 16. And we will, of course, still be covering Lotus this weekend as they start their campaign. I will not be the only one taking you through. I'm not that smart. I need an analytical mind to take me through every game of League of Legends. That will be my main man, TDS, here just next to me. And TDS, what a fun matchup we have here, especially when you talk about the two squads, where they were at maybe just halfway through last weekend ago versus now when you talk about Lotus and Gentle Hearts. But let's start with the team that we're here to cover, TDS. This Lotus roster, currently second in points for seeding into the promotion tournament. Same roster they ran from the last qualifier that they made a finals appearance in.
Yeah, they are keeping the same roster. I think a smart choice, like you're mentioning. They are the same roster that reached the grand finals, losing out of there, but there's no shame in that. They lost against a great team in Dragon's Goons. And this roster by Porsche, Jardock, Robbie Bob, Sushi, and Mixture, all in order in the map. Pretty good, pretty strong, has a clear identity that they like to play. And we pretty much have to highlight, I would say, the bot lane. Sushi and Mixture, two of the best players so far we've seen in both OQs. They have performed really, really well. And I think that experience that they received in the grand finals going against Array in a matchup that was really difficult for them really helped Sushi develop even more in my eyes.
Yeah, you know, Sushi and Mixture, I talked about this last week when myself and Gordo were covering them on the Swiss stage. You know, when you look at that Goon series, right, Lotus they never really looked mortal until that Goon series. I don't really count the best of one loss to Polestar, right? And in that series, when they really looked pretty mortal, a lot of it to me seemed to be through Sushi and Mixture. Like they got a little bit caught up against the, higher degree of talent, I think we all would say, in that Goon's bottom lane. So definitely looking for Sushi and Mixture to show that consistency, the dominance that they had in now two Swiss stages and last GSL stage when we get deeper into that. But we're a pretty far ways away from that. Lotus, still a team that you could think comfortably will make that top 8 into another playoffs run. Maybe not the same said for our challenger today after the start they had to the Swiss stage. We've got Gentle Hearts Gaming on the other side, who TDS survived the O2 start to Swiss stage just to make it here, despite the fact they were a top 8 team last OQ.
Exactly, and I was a first-class spectator on that run by Gentle Hearts because I was able to witness all of it from the O2 start to the 3-0 win, continuing after that O2 start. Right. And a lot of that comes from their bot lane, realistically. Now the roster is PCL, Cross, Xiao Danny, Devin, and Gone by Spring, which is not necessarily a bad roster. Like you're mentioning, they were top 8 last time, but the start of the OQs were really rough for them. And a lot of that comes from, I would say, PCL and Cross really not delivering on how they were playing. But then the other part, the great success that they were able to show, comes in quite heavily from the hands of Devin, but also the support from the team for allowing Devin to be able to hyper carry. So I'm kind of excited to see how this bot lane matchup is going to go today, because that's where a little bit of our highlight is going to go for these two teams.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I am a guy that has been capping for Devin. TDS, I've been capping for this guy for a while now. Yep. I think Devin is one of the best team fighting AD carries I've seen at this level. And I think, like you mentioned, it certainly had to show up last weekend at many points for this team. But it's still a team comprised of that roster from the top 8. Besides support, you can see there, if you think about the graphic a little bit harder, you'll understand who their support is. Gone by Spring. What's Gone by Spring? The winter time is. So Winters is the support there. And I know on the reveal show, TDS, we made the joke. Clyde was the old head on the Gentle Hearts Gaming roster last OQ, so they change him out. Who do they get? An even older guy, arguably, with Winters to step in here. But it's certainly something needed with this Gentle Hearts team, right? They need a veteran voice in there when you have youngsters like Cross, Xiao Danny, Devin. And I'm glad that, I'd like to give credit to Winters. I think he had to play a big role in that, I guess, locker room, you want to call it, the VC, when they went down 0-2 to help them make that 3-game sprint.
And it's funny because they are a team that is comprised by players that do have experience in the OQs, right? Like, it's not like they're newer into the scene or anything like that. Like you're mentioning, Winter has come and gone for so many rosters, and most of these players as well. PCL had a slight stint even in the NACL or Academy, which was known before, as well as even in Europe. So like, there's players that have the experience to back them up, but the performance wasn't there to start it off. So certainly something had to happen in the backstage, something had to happen for them to be able to turn around such a bad situation. And the fact of the matter is that it helped them to now be here in the group stage and honestly be a bit of a wild card in the sense that we saw Devin be the main actor coming into this group stage, but the rest of the players could still appear perfectly. Like, we haven't seen PCO's best performance yet, or Cross's best performance, even Xiao Danny's best performance. So I think that for GHG fans, there's things to hope for if they are able to pull it off today.
Certainly, right? I think this team was playing at its floor level in a lot of those Swiss stage matchups.
Yeah.
And the ceiling is much higher. The ceiling is, in my mind, top 8 for sure. Once again, the problem being that one of the teams that I think it would beat them in that top 8 scenario is the team that they're taking on today with Lotus, who, we could talk about a ton, the veterancy on this roster across the board. I mean, Dardok's back in jungle and he's playing at a level above tier 3 jungling. I really don't care what anyone else says about that label. And then we've got CLOL talent that's one in portion. Robbie Bob, Sushi Mixture are the young talents, but their ceilings are super high. So yeah, Lotus is certainly a tough matchup. Quickly before we get into draft though, TDS, it is important to mention we are on live patch. So we are on 14.15, which means according to Rally Cry's rules, Aurora will be enabled starting now and going forward in this second OQ. And just another quick refresher for everybody at home, because Swiss was best of ones, this is that full fearless format. So if we get to a game 3 today, 20 champions are off the board for everybody.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. The fearless format is something that changes up so many strategies and ways of playing the game, which is going to be exciting to see. And I want to see what these teams are able to cook in most of these situations. Obviously, the Aurora being added onto the pool is going to be exciting, but there's a lot of champions that can be picked, and there's a lot of focus that I want to see on what it's going to happen to the top side once again for GHG, because they were one of the weaker points, and if their pools get hit here, probably could be something to consider for GHG. But I'm completely excited for the fearless format. I love the format so much, and I hope to see great games today.
Yeah, 100%. It's such a fun format nonetheless, and it's given us birth to a lot of fun compositions. And I think if we went a bit broader with where we're at in the qualifiers, the fearless format certainly helped out a lot of young rising teams, Cinderella stories, you would say. So, but for both the teams that we've here observed, right? We both watched a good amount of Lotus. They do have their fun picks they like to go to. You keep a lookout for. I know Mundo's still a big thing in the meta, but Lotus like to run it in the jungle with Dardok to give him that enableability on that champion. Dardok's just champion pool in general is something that's so fun to talk about, TDS, because I think this guy has the most. I know this guy has the most unique jungle picks behind only Bio from the Ducky Getters in this qualifier run so far.
And it's something that has followed him pretty much through all his career, right? Even in LCS, he was one of the players that was bringing out Warwick jungle when he was out of meta completely. So like, he's willing to pick this sort of random picks that can work out really well. The team has the confidence to follow up on that as well, which is really, really important. And I like to see the mix up into your drafts, because that can be a great strength, especially considering that a lot of the meta junglers may eventually just get completely taken out, especially going into a BO5. You just may get 4 junglers out of the window because of the full fearless rules. And then also we have to add on top of that the bans that are going to come through. So like, there's a lot of situations that are going to mean that having a wide champion variety in the jungle is going to be really ideal. And honestly, Dardok has always been that sort of player. But the rest on the side of Lotus, they don't stay behind. There's quite a good amount of mix-up here and there for their players, and it's really, really good that it's working out that well.
Yeah, it's been great that it's working out that well in general. What I know isn't working out is I believe somebody's internet currently is going on with issues. I see thunderstorm blaming going on in the chat. So yeah, it looks like we've lost one of the players due to a thunderstorm and internet outage, which does mean that we'll chop it up a little bit longer, but we might have to go to a short break shortly. I'll let you guys know. TDS, what I do want to chop up about and talk about is, since we went from Swiss to GSL, we've gotten to look, at how these groups filled out after the Swiss run, right? And it's really interesting when you talk about the group that Lotus and Gentle Hearts Gaming are in, because this group has 3 former top 8 people from last OQ, and 2 of them were top 4 finalists. So In the group, Lotus, Gentle Hearts, that's the matchup we have now. The other matchup, I believe, going on tomorrow is Ducky Gators Gromcord. So this is just a group of death we've gotten, B.
Yeah, those are teams that most would argue can be on the top 8. Like, they have the players, the quality, they have a little bit of experience as well potentially there. So it can work out quite ideally for them. And it looks like potentially we may be going into game, but a slight change up here just doesn't look like it's going to be Frost, apparently.
Yeah, so the draft is soon to start off here, but yeah, that's a big thing. So the whatever thunderstorms are going on, it looks like it was affecting Dardoch. Luckily for Lotus, their coach Frost Forest was a very prominent jungle player. I think he was playing pretty recently in 2-3 level, so it's actually not the biggest downgrade. But yeah, you just lost your former LCS jungler to Thunderstorm, and now you got to draft and play with Frost.
And who knows how big of a voice was Dardoch, right? Like, Dardoch is one of those players that has always come off as vocal, right? Like, even when he was in LCS as a rookie, he was always vocal about what he wanted to do. So I want to know how much does this affect the way that Lotus wants to play the game, because Dardoch may be just the main voice and everyone runs around him in how they want to try and play the game, or if someone else has that sort of potential to bring everyone together. A good thing though that Frost Forest is the coach is that he is a coach, so technically speaking he should be able to be a voice and big enough that everyone can follow around him. And just to start it off, it looks like bye to start off the bands, not necessarily a bad choice.
No, necessarily certainly would not be. You know what I will say though is, thinking about this, I think Frost and Dardoch's champion pools could not be more different the more I think about it. When I've seen Frost play, he was mostly on like the tank utility guy, champions. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if a Sejuani gets picked for him, for example. You know, Maokai's, like, that's what Frost was most recently playing when he was playing in a competitive sense. Dardoch is the opposite. The only tank he'll usually play is that Mundo. Outside of that, it was like AP junglers, his Karthus, his Nidalee, all of this. So we'll see how Lotus's just entire composition changes, because Dardoch's champ pool is something that Lotus has always prioritized to play around. We'll see how this evolves as draft goes on. And hey, I guess I get some brownie points over there, TDS. Sejuani ban, that's definitely for Frost.
Yeah, and it's also interesting because they also pulled off the Trundle ban on the other side, which means that they were kind of thinking that they want to go for something tankier, right? Trundle, one of the better tank killers out there, especially in the jungle. So thinking about that potential as well, they close off with Maokai. So yeah, trying to hit that pull as much as possible. And there it is. We were trying at talking about it. I wasn't sure if it was going to come through, if it was going to be pick and ban. But first pick Aurora, and may go to the top lane, may go to the mid lane. I want to see Robbie Bob with the Aurora here.
Yeah, we're about to find out which members of Lotus have been practicing the Aurora the most, as they'll see either the mid or top lane here. This would be a stable from Zhao Danny. Taliyah does have some flexibility into the jungle. Obviously right now it does, but the Zhao Danny I know is a Taliyah player by heart, at their heartstrings. So locking the Taliyah, that does show that Gentle Hearts TDS believe this is Aurora for Robbie Bob.
Exactly, may think that it's going that way, and especially with the Rek'Sai pick here. Interestingly, Rek'Sai was a 100% banned against GHG for all of the OQs. So this time around, it's finally open. They go immediately for it as soon as they have the chance, and maybe a Taliyah Rek'Sai combo, not necessarily a bad choice. On the other side though, with Ashe banned, the Ezreal picked here. I like it for Sushi, self-build potential, not have to depend on the rest of the team, and allows for him to have a great amount of damage from a safe distance, which is great to see. And I wouldn't even be mad if they go for a Karma here. Having some sort of lane dominant duo plus the Aurora could be quite nice to see, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they go engage here. The Nautilus, the Leona have been really popular, so it wouldn't be surprising.
Leona is on a slight nerf. It is to her damage output mostly, so maybe you won't see as many first bloods from early exchanges when a Leona bottom lane, but still brings the same key aspects, right, that you're talking about. The engage, that's what Leona's all about. Other point I want to make quickly, Sushi, if he does, it's Ashe or Ezreal for him. That's what it was all Swiss stage. If you don't ban one, he takes the either, so he takes Ezreal. Makes a ton of sense. And Ezreal also slightly nerfed on his Mystic Shot AD scaling, so a slightly nerfed bottom lane here for Lotus, but still a very powerful one. And what a powerful pick there for Devin. I mean, Kai'Sa is the most, there's so much room for expression, and by expression TDS I mean you can either into fight away or you can take over a fight with this champion.
Yeah, and you're going against a Leona that has point-click CC to try and stop you there, but I like the Kai'Sa here. Does provide a lot of mobility, does have great long-range damage from the W, as well as a lot of damage from close range if you're going to go that build, and has great pairings in the bot lane. The only thing here is that with with Alistar ban, you kind of are pigeonholing yourself into going for the Nautilus to try and get the best pair possible for the Kai'Sa. Other one could be the Braum, but I feel like that takes away a little bit of the aggressive potential from the Kai'Sa, though. Could be really good with the Nautilus ban if it comes through. I'm thinking Braum probably looks to be the choice, or Rel maybe, actually, thinking about it.
Yeah, I do think those are two really good bans, and hey, TDS, that's why they get you on these broadcasts. That big brain of yours. The Rel is going to be the lock in here for winners, but two really smart bans from Lotus, taking away the Alistar and the Nautilus as two of those capabilities. Gentle Hearts, though, had two really good bans of their own. K'Sante and especially the Udyr have been Porsche's cream of the flavor of the month, I guess you would say. He'll land on the blind Renekton. Pretty safe blind for all the bruisers left up, especially when you don't have the Udyr or the K'Sante. Those are two better blind options. Renekton ain't half bad. Ooh.
And potentially the Poppy here. I really like the Poppy for Rel, for the Rek'Sai, for the Kai'Sa, and even for a potential counter pick here by GHG. Interestingly, GHG also was one of the teams that went consistently to the red side. They love to give PCL the counter pick. The Aatrox, not necessarily a bad choice, especially going into the Renekton, although there's people that think that the Renekton is a counter to the Aatrox to a certain degree, but I feel like it's matchup dependent. It can really depend on how you go for it and how the players go for it. But what's scary for me is that PCL is playing a champion that can have a hard time from behind, and he was consistently solo killed in a lot of the games from the OQs, from the previous stage. Yeah, the previous stage. So it's scary that they are putting him on an Aatrox just because he was really volatile, but at the same time, if he can try and overcome that and come up with a much better performance on the Aatrox, then it can be a really good showing for GHG to start it off.
Yeah, they're kind of pigeonholed into giving him R5, right? When Aurora got showed at B1, you knew, and they guessed right, obviously, that it is going to be Robbie Bob on the Aurora, but that means you got the mid lane counter pick earlier enough for Zhao Danny, so why not take it? And then you mostly leave R5 for solo lanes because that's where they get those real counters. So yeah, but I definitely agree with you. I think PCL really has to step up because most of them, I mean, he was losing a lot of those matchups in that Swiss stage, and none of them were to guys like Porsche. So so that's what really scares me about this matchup.
Yeah, it's the difficult part to really call out, because I think that PCL, even there were games where I thought he was doing pretty well, but out of nowhere he got solo killed. Then he loses push in the top lane, he loses control, and it was also games where Cross was actually supporting the top lane and giving him some help to try and mitigate that sort of bad situation that was happening up there, and it still didn't matter. So this time around, with a much more volatile top laner in the form of the Aatrox, you need to be extra careful, because if you fall behind, Aatrox is hard to come back with. It's not impossible because you have great healing and you have great tools to try and pull it up, but a Renekton from ahead is also scary, especially when you're going against a champion that wants to have a free space like the Kai'Sa, when you have point and click CC in the Renekton, in the Leona, even in the Poppy to a certain degree because of her cancel potential with the steadfast presence. It's really difficult to actually be able to play the game as Kai'Sa. So it's important that PCL does a good job to allow for Devin to play the game better.
I do think, Lotus, speaking on that point, drafted really well to punish Devin. And you talked about earlier, Devin was kind of the biggest saving grace when Gentle Hearts went from 0-2 to 3-2. You already talked about like the Poppy dash canceling, the Leona having that point and click CC that can come down. I can confirm Devin is running cleanse to try and check some of that. He had to run the cleanse. I mean, we all knew that one was coming. But one thing I've seen from the few games of Aurora I've watched and played against is that they do really good against marksman mid laners because of that ultimate between worlds. It's that bigger Camille, right? And if you can lock down how much space Devin has to operate with that Aurora ultimate, with a Poppy in there, a Renekton in there, two champions that already want you to be pretty close combat with them. Yeah, this is going to be about as hard as it comes for Devin, one of the better team fight AD carries in all of these qualifiers.
Yeah, and now that you mentioned the Poppy, I'm kind of curious if it works like a wall, where if you push the Kai'Sa into it, does it work like a wall and she gets stunned? That actually could be a really fun dynamic.
Yeah, I maybe Frost knows. Maybe that's why they won the Aurora, right, and come back around with Poppy. I've not seen a game with Poppy and Aurora in it just yet, so that's the fun thing about playing on live patch. Another reason why I like that change to live patch is that we kind of get to learn, not at the same time as players, because they were obviously scrimming on this patch a little bit before we get to the weekend, but not far behind them.
Yeah, exactly. It's fun. It's a fun opportunity to see what can be broken a little bit before even the higher leagues. So it is going to be really enjoyable, and I want to see the Aurora in action. And I'm glad that it's going to be on someone like Robbie Bob, right? Like, who better than a mid laner that has such big pedigree in this level and can perform really well with champion when he gets given this sort of champions.
100%. I mean, it's interesting because Robbie has been actually playing a lot more, AD variant champions. He, like, all the Swiss stage, he was playing Lucian mid a ton. He was playing Corki mid when it was really powerful, Tristana mid. But Robbie Bob, as I know him, is a pretty big mage player. So this is kind of Robbie going back to his roots in a sense with this Aurora. And yeah, it's gonna be a tough task for both Zhao Danny and PCL. They are certainly not favored in their solo lane matchups. Can Devin once again carry Gentle Hearts? There's so many questions to be answered, but we have the answer coming your guys' way. Live on to Summoner's Rift, Game 1, Lotus Gentle Hearts Gaming, the top side of Group B. And keep in mind, the Poppy player we have today, hopefully we'll get Dardoch back for Game 2, but for now, Lotus are with their coach slotted in as their starting jungler.
Yeah, exactly. And luckily for everyone that just joined, Dardoch is not going to be present for this first game because of climatic conditions, which isn't lucky, but can happen to anyone. Hopefully for the second game, he'll come back. But Frost is no stranger to this level, and he can perform if needed. Especially at the start of the group stage, you obviously don't want to fall down to the lower bracket. You have the chance to go to lower bracket, which is really good because you have a second chance. But you want to get these victories and get out in the highest seed possible.
Without a doubt. Quicker you get out of the groups, the more points you can get, and the closer for Lotus to be able to secure their spot into the promotion tournament. You see Frost and Porsche teaming up to get an aggressive ward down themselves, but good on PCL there to sneak right behind them to make sure both junglers will be tracked. Hey, actually, maybe only one jungler. The early sweeper purchased there by Winters to clear out that ward.
And an interesting trade as well on the bot lane, not going to mean much. It's just going to be extra health or a little bit of health down for Sushi and Devin. They are even trying to control this Tribush. And if they can find here Gunprise Spring, they're going to catch the rally 100%, unless she goes over the wall.
100%, yep. There is the crash down over the wall, but some good poke nonetheless given across. Sneaky part about Ezreal in lane is that he is one of the better level 1 champions, and Sushi certainly recognizing that, able to punish. Mirrored starts for both of our junglers. Maybe we'll see Cross pay a visit down to the bottom lane with the way he's assigned to clear down.
Yeah, they want to go for the bot lane, and once again, a little bit of the plan that happened in the previous stage of the OQs was try and put a little bit of pressure on Devin so that he can try and carry. And that's what Cross may be trying to go for here. Although he's going to be a little bit late. He's going for all the camps topside instead of opting immediately into clearing the birds and the red buff into the blue buff and then going for a potential gank if he wanted to just go quickly to the bot side.
It does look like both junglers' blue buffs are warded here, so curious to see how they'll adapt their clears once they're spotted. Should be in, I believe, yeah, it should be Frost spotting out Cross first here, as the Rek'Sai has that faster clear. Actually, the ward ran out on the blue buff for Frost, so no early intel gain about where Frost may go with his first gank here for GHG.
Yeah, they are not going to be able to spot the Rek'Sai here, but I like the fact that they decided to push quickly the bot lane, insta back so that Sushi can get the tier immediately, and then just move back into the lane. This kind of takes away from the potential threat of the Rek'Sai. Like, that level 1 gank feels like it's not going to happen, and they have a slow push here in the top side. PCL doesn't have enough damage to actually take it down, and yes, he tanks a turret shot Porsche there, but this is a perfect setup.
Yeah, Poppy really good at diving, and Frost can find the stun angle. Does not get it, but the stun will come across for Porsche. Flash away for PCL. Good dash away as well. Porsche had too much of the turret aggro to try and go for the kill. They'll try and recollect themselves. PCL desperately trying to burn the wave down. He's got nobody coming to help him. Cross is on the other side of the map. Frost will go back in. Great cancel by PCL on the Q3. Gets the chain down that nearly kills off Porsche on its own. And PCL is going to limp out of that dive attempt.
Yeah, a little bit questionable there from both Porsche and Frost. The setup idea was perfect. I love the way that they were trying to pull it off, but the execution is where you are a little bit discounted on that. Like, it wasn't well played at all. But at the end of the day, though, they do burn a lot of the minions. Oh, bottling.
Oh, wow. Engage down for Mixture. A ton of damage onto Winters' head. Sushi going to push the tempo with an arcade shift, forcing the flash out of Winters. Devin trying to kite back himself, does get the plasma proc down onto Sushi, but too much sustained damage from the Ezreal forces Devin to cleanse another stun, and Gentle Hearts to give up control of the wave. Devin, though, does get a Zenith Blade, flashes to bring a Mixture very far back. No turret aggro given over, and Devin is going to fall just short of another plasma proc, but he's got Cross coming down for the gank. Flash is available for both Lotus bot laners, but Cross will commit his first. Mixture will flash out from the crash down. Devin will still pick up first blood as the autos will sink through for Gentle Hearts.
Yeah, and the difference there, one was way too far ahead. They tried to push way too far forward and didn't count for Cross to be on the bot side. After their initial play, they get punished here, and Devin once again gets first blood for GHG. That's big success. But with what happened topside and now what happened down in the bot side, it's not the best to start for Lotus. So Sushi is doing a really good job. He's doing a lot of damage, and I'm not sure if that's going to change a lot of the dynamics on the bot lane, if I'm honest. Even with the extra damage on the Kai'Sa at this point, I'm not sure if that's enough to be able to burst Mixture really quickly, because we saw how tanky that Leona was.
And especially now, if Sushi has both summoner advantage right now, yeah, I think the power dynamic has not shifted a lot from the bottom lane, but what has certainly shifted in this game, and we didn't get to touch on it too quickly with that top lane play, if you're Lotus, maybe already feeling the woes of not being able to have Dardoch in this game.
Yep.
Gotta think that dive, I'm a little bit late to saying it, but would have gone cleaner if it was Dardoch there, Hellman, instead of Frost.
So I agree a 50% there, because I don't think that's the difference of having Dardoch all the way, because Porsche messed up by himself a mechanic play there. So I think that yes, not having Dardoch impacts maybe the confidence of some of the players, but at the same time that's a mechanical play. So I'm not 100% sure if I would say that was on not having Dardoch.
Well, we'll certainly have to see how the game evolves, and how many times will we ask the question, what does that play look like for Lotus if they have Dardoch? Because with Dardoch, Lotus have rarely fallen behind in the early game. Now, not too far, just a couple, not even a grand of gold down just yet, but certainly tempo in the power of Gentle Hearts on that bot side. Top side, PCL is still feeling the brunt of these full waves crashing into his turret, and Frost is going to recognize that and start up those grubs, picking up the first one with ease.
Yeah, they have control over on the top side, and because of the push in the bot side, that means that Sushi and Mixture will not be in much trouble. Even without the flash, Mixture should be pretty fine. It is going to be a trade for Dragon, and it is the Infernal to start it off. So at the very least, a bit of extra damage going into the side of Devin is always great to have if you're on the side of GHG.
Porsche, though, doing a good job cutting down that early gold lead. He's already gotten 2 turret plates down to himself. On the Swiss stage, Lotus, Porsche took 2 turrets by himself, fully plated up. That's going to have to hold off here as eventual dragon fight coming out here. They've cut Sushi off from Mixture, but look at the roam down from Frost and Robbie Bob. They will be first here. Weaver's Wall comes across, but Sushi is just already dead. Frost gets a good stun on the Zhao Danny, but the turn is coming out. Mixture's now caught. Double kill back over to Cross. Here comes Gentle Hearts pushing the tempo. Ult forced out of Robbie Bob. He's trying to just use it to escape and buy more space. It's a 3-0 kill start for Gentle Hearts, and maybe might be answered here by Porsche, who does pop the dominance, but an answer of the World's Ender means PCL will get out. And now the control of the early game really in the hands of the underdogs in our matchup.
Yeah, 100% there, and you have to question Sushi there. Once again, I don't think I can blame this on not having Dardoch, because that's a mechanical play, and not only a mechanical play, an awareness play. Sushi gets picked off in a really bad spot, and it's just an easy kill. We talked about Mixture potentially not being that easily killed because it's a Leona, but the Ezreal is not the same story. That's a really easy target to kill if he gets picked up, and they found him, they burst him, and they find another important lead in the bot lane for Devin.
Yeah, what really stings for Sushi, dies with both summoners up, and one of those being cleansed means you can always find an angle to cleanse and then flash. Sushi didn't want to commit either of them, does end up dying, and now a lot of gold into Devin. Maybe more importantly, if we're talking about guys that just want to see get back to playing their best League of Legends, Cross right here is now 2-0 on that Rex that you talked about was banned away from so often, showing why you shouldn't let him play this champion.
Yeah, it's a nice showing from Cross to show why he was banned so consistently, and I think it's going to be a pretty interesting game by Cross as well. He has the potential to kill these targets really easily if he gets the space, and with a lead, it's much easier to execute on the right side.
Lead, though, still within manageable numbers, mainly because of Porsche up here. No kills found, but he's going to start harping on his third turret plate and should pick this one up. And look at the CS gap that's coming across as well. Going to be over 3 waves worth of CS. That's really what's keeping Lotus anchored in this game, despite all the woes on the other side of the map.
Yeah, the fact that there is this slight lead by Porsche, it's helping out, not that it's not a massive deficit, really. And I think that they can keep on playing this out. Probably will be able to collect this turret really quickly, and it's also what will make that the lead from Devin maybe not matter that much. Because if there's one champion that can completely destroy Kai'Sa, is this Renekton.
Yeah, Porsche sitting on the biggest gold lead of all the laners so far. Cross has a bigger one over Frost right now, up many camps, and that 2-0 start. He has his Eclipse done. He's the first one to get towards his first item. Perfect for Cross if he wants to look for whichever neutral objective he wants, with the next set of grub spawning and the dragon not too far behind.
Yeah, that's scary to think about, the potential from this Rek'Sai PCL.
Yep, World Ender, Dominus Pop, the 2 steroid injection ultimates coming across, but Cross is here first to roam up. Flash to get the knockup. Dominus going to tick out soon, but a great keeper's verdict from Frost.
Oh, he even smells it.
Fed member of Gentle Hearts out. Cancel of the flash from Frost means that PCL is just trapped and cut down. Great outplay there from the coach of Lotus.
Yeah, important there, and Frost finding an pretty crucial oh, wait.
Whoa, Winter going after Robbie Bob despite the invis, and Devin's here as well. Killer instincts in. Robbie Bob is caught and cut down.
Yeah, guess what? Having 4 members in the mid lane is really helpful to try and secure a kill, and it works out marvelously for them. I was going to praise Frost because that was a confident kill to try and get, especially after how the game started. It's important to get that ball rolling for you. And then on the other side, able to kill Robbie Bob in the mid lane. They deny the Aurora already really well, take out the flash, and even I think the ultimate was popped, but didn't come up. So at the end, they find 2 important cooldowns down, and this means 3 grubs for the side of GHG.
Always is an answer from the Lotus squad, and it is important to remember that they did leave Sushi on an island. He picks up a plate of his own, gets that CS difference down a lot lower. And it's what we talked about a lot when the few times we've seen Lotus on the back foot. They're a team of veterans, right, TDS? So they always recognize there's going to be ways to find and keep the gold close on the side of the map where the conflict isn't always happening.
Yep. Which is kind of weird after how the game started. It feels like there's been more kills, but at the same time, it's kind of like just a 5-kill game with how it's been going. Just quickly pointing it out as well, Devin already completes the static shift. So Kai'Sa really in a really good spot.
Such an interesting thing with the Kai'Sa Ezreal matchup, right? The cheapness of the items. Ezreal's first rush is a Triforce, one of the most expensive in the game. Devin's cheaper side with that static shiv.
Yep.
And he just watched Frost walk right past him. Cleanse on the stun from Frost. There's a dive is being set up across, and Winters are close by. Zhao is going to come through with the Weaver's Wall, and now Mixture's getting caught. Who's getting dove by who? 5th kill over to Gentle Hearts.
Yeah, Mixer wasn't able to even move an inch after they realized where the Leona was. Really unlucky there for them, but they just get the perfect angle, realizing that they can just completely punish the Leona in that position, and they are just taking advantage of the small mistakes that Lotus are pulling off there. They will now secure another dragon potentially here, and already stocking up really well for a potential soul. I don't know which it's going to be, and they are not lucky.
No, they are not. They get the Cloud Soul, which is powerful for Cross, Winters, maybe PCL, but yeah, nothing like the stat injections we could have had from a Hextech Soul, a Chemtech Soul even. Hold on though, we have some engages going down. Devin does get locked down by Mixture, but they look for the turn on the Sushi, does cleanse the stun, and that stun from the Solar Flare will come across. Great pick by Mixture. The Titan Devin is down. Robbie Bob is teleporting back in. Use the Between Worlds to hold Cross at bay. He can't tunnel anywhere, but back to a gray screen. Double kill over to Sushi.
And just like that, 2 kills for Sushi, Guess is back in the game, and also they get I think it was a shutdown on Devin, if I'm not wrong there, so even more gold for Sushi. They can push this wave, they can find a lot of value, and the first roam by Robbie Bob, actually canceling the Rek'Sai even there is kind of hilarious to see. So we know now that there's going to be even more targets that are going to be completely left suffering in that situation.
It was so good for Mixture. He's been caught a couple of times, trying to play for these dives, play that aggressive Leona. really good solar flare and lockdown to punish Devin when he knew he did not have that cleanse. And despite all the really good plays from Gentle Hearts in the early game, those small wins across the map for Lotus keep the gold lead deadlocked. The only thing really swaying this game in the favor of Gentle Hearts by now is the fact that they are on track for an early Cloud Soul.
Yeah, they have a really good position to try and get it. Obviously, it's not the one they wanted to go for. Oh wait, Frost.
They might have a pick on a Frost here. No seismic shovel land. Mixture now looking for a re-engage. Does go in, forces a flash out of Zhao Danny, who will now try and zone off the rest of Lotus. Everybody up here and waiting for a potential fight. But it's going to fizzle out just as quickly as it started.
Yeah, and because PCL is left alone in bot lane, it means that he gets free time with his turret, free time with the minions, and they are going to look for a mixture maybe here.
Yep, Cross gets canceled out of his burrow. Good stunts coming across, double teleports. Mixture does get out, but Devin killer instincts all the way across the fight to execute it. Between worlds comes across for Bob, trying to get onto Devin, but he will flash out of the ultimate, and PCL gets his first reset. Porsche up there with the dominance, trying to cut down his low health bars, but gets seismic shoved back into the enemy team. Sushi knows damage is coming online massively. Devin cut off from the rest of the fight, has to dodge these mystic shots, but Sushi's gonna cut him down for a triple kill. 5 kills to Sushi, and he's looking to push it to more here. Zhao Danny soon to fall. Flash forward from Sushi. Sushi's doing it all on his own for Lotus and nearly finds himself a pentakill that Cross limped out of.
It's 15 minutes and we almost had a pentakill for Sushi there, but it's not going to turn that way. That being said, 4 kills for the Ezreal, 6-1 at this point in the game, and with all that happened with Devin, guess what? It doesn't matter because the other AD carry is the one that's shining at this point. What a great fight from both sides, realistically. They find Frost and kill the pop immediately. They also get a good angle on Porsche on the side of Lotus to be able to kill PCL and then put the Kai'Sa in a horrible spot, and they are punishing each other really well. But at the end of the day, Lotus just feels that they get a little bit more out of that win.
Because Sushi, it's the matchup of marksman we highlighted, TDS already showing up.
Yep.
So many threats to have to deal with on Lotus's comp. Porsche has a lead. Robbie bombing this Aurora that you still have to worry about as that fresh champion. It happens time and time again against teams when they play against Ezreal. You don't worry about the Ezreal enough in a fight until he's nearly acing your team on his own.
Yep.
We'll have to see how much Gentle Hearts decide to invest in now trying to shut down the 6-kill Ezreal with a bounty.
Exactly. It's going to be scary to say the least to try and go for that, but if you're able to, that can take a big amount of damage off of the side from Lotus because, yeah, Ezreal is really far ahead, but he's 6-1. That means that the other members are not as strong comparatively. And that means that if you take out the Ezreal, the damage output is going to be a bit lower on the other side.
First turret's dropping. Gentle Hearts were actually able to pick up the first turret, though, with Zhao Danny, I believe. Excuse me, before Robbie Bob came back with the answer on the top side. And
yeah.
I just love TDS that in a game where we're spotlighting such great marksman play, it's such a close one where we're really just going to have to keep fighting it out just so you can find a lead.
Yeah, and honestly, this is a really good potential show of the marksman caliber that we have in the Aegis. Because yes, Sushi is one of the top ones, but Devin was coming into this one not being that high, but he's performing really, really well so far. And I think that it goes to show that there's really good marksman quality in the OQs.
And Zhao Danny's doing a pretty good job on this Talia, just finding those good stuns, those slippery stones.
The damage.
2, 1, and 3 on this Talia as well. Both teams starting to push their tempo towards mid lane, but look at how Sushi can just hold so much Gentle Hearts at bay. This poke is unrelenting.
Oh, the ulti
down though for Robbie Bob. The ulti does trap Zhao Danny, and he does go into the stasis. Winters is trying to hold the rest of Lotus at bay. They will find a trade onto Winters. PCL pops the world ender. Trades galore as Zhao Danny now drops.
Sushi's
and the poke damage from Sushi is just outrageous. He holds Devin at bay the entire time. The supercharged Kai'Sa could do nothing for Gentle Hearts.
He really feels like a turret from a safe distance there. Sushi just dealing so much damage, but the start of that fight is 100% Robbie Bob. I honestly wasn't expecting that at all, but he forces the fight with a marvelous ultimate, putting Zhao Danny in a horrible spot, and there's no way for them to escape. The only way is what we saw, I think, previously, where Devin had to flash. If you flashed it out, maybe you can try and save that, but it's just a fight so well forced by Robbie Bob and everyone following accordingly. And I think for a future, just to continue to keep in mind for the future, that's going to happen even more.
Robbie already showing off how the Aurora can be used as a utility tool. And why not in this game, especially with the way Sushi is just so far ahead than the rest. And it's endearing to see a squad of so many veterans that have done a lot of winning, willing to put their superstar youngster AD carry in that superstar position.
Yeah, and you also have the other potential damage dealer in the form of Porsche. He's 0-1-4. Yes, he died once, but he's still quite strong, and you have another tool to try and deal damage if you're able to get multiple, or not multiple angles, but at the very least multiple damage outputs out there to try and kill someone like Devin. So it's a nice mix-up in every plays, and I like to see Lotus going for this.
Man, do I like to see the power spike that Sushi's on as an Ezreal aficionado. Yep. Let me tell you, the once you get that Moramana done, Ezreal's damage really just becomes outrageous. And that Caulfield's Warhammer for Sushi means I believe that'll be a Spear Shojin third. That is by far, with the cooldown reduction that item gives you, the real strongest point for this marksman. And Sushi is not far behind that point as we get to a very critical venture in this game one.
Yeah, and they are pushing onto the tier 1 turret. Interestingly though, there hasn't been much pushes into the tier 1 mid lane turrets, which is something that doesn't typically happen. Teams tend to go more effectively into that to try and gain control as quickly as possible of the map, and that's the easiest point to try and get, or the easiest way to try and get control is to take down the turret. But this time around, they are taking their time much more carefully. They are not overly committing to try and getting the turret, and they are just trying to maybe get to a point where both teams feel comfortable enough to force a fight.
Yes, I'm glad you pointed that out, because dropping the mid-tier 1 turret just opens up the map in a huge way for either team. So we'll see who can really get that first knockdown, as Winters may be caught trying to clear out some vision. Mixture will miss the Zenith Blade, but Frost will find an angle and does stun up Cross. He does have to flash the wall. Here comes Zhao Denny over the Weaver's Wall, cutting Lotus's in half, but Winters is on the wrong side of it and will have to burn a blast cone to get out.
What happens down?
The Portal Combat wants to follow him and will pick up his kill onto Winters, with the rest of Gentle Hearts scattered across their own jungle.
Yeah, what I was looking out for what was happening. Wait, Mixture.
Okay, Mixture is chasing Cross. Robbie Bob wasn't as close. I don't think he was all about the play as much as Mixture was. But that tier 1 turret for Gentle Hearts will fall with all the escapades in the jungle.
Yeah, respect the decision there by Mixer to just keep on going blindly without even thinking about their team, and it almost nets him a kill, but he actually gets a kill onto Gone by Spring, getting really good value off the Leona, and the overall play, it starts up with Frost getting a really good stun, and then trying to follow up on the kill onto the Rek'Sai. Cross has to flash away. Devin doesn't get focused though, which is what surprised me the most. When Renekton was alone with the Kai'Sa, I thought they were going to commit a little bit heavier, but maybe the Zhao Denny coming down with the Weaver's Wall kind of scared them away, and they thought maybe going for the easier kill in the Rel was a much better choice.
Certainly interesting. I feel, the Weaver's Wall can prove to be very volatile in these fights, the way Zhao Denny can position them. Lotus maybe paying some respect over towards it as we see these top laners start to really slug it out. Not an item advantage between either of them, so no real danger for either of them finding that solo kill, and both champions are just so reliant on going for kills when their ultimates pop. That's why you constantly saw the Dominus and World Ender traded, and then both guys stopped fighting each other.
Yeah, they saw the ultimate pop, and then they decided, nah, it's not worth it. They just go away with each other there, but maybe they are saving themselves for a bigger team fight. One fight where out of nowhere, Aatrox gets 3 kills and Porsche gets 3 as well. Or who knows why.
Both are very, very possible avenues. Gentle Hearts, though, certainly been through all of the emotions in this early to mid game. Now on the back foot of game number 1, sitting down about 3,000 gold. They can buy some time with the Dragons, but Gentle Hearts, or Devin, excuse me, might not have much time. Flash there is committed by Frost, but Devin is able to slip out. This is a mid-tier 2 turret going down, and Gentle Hearts, where's the answer?
Yeah, and before they weren't committing so heavily for the tier 1, and now they get tier 2. Oh, Zhao Denny's in a 12th spot, actually.
Yep. Zhao Denny's in the wrong world, stuck in there with Robbie Bob. Porsche will teleport in, does commit the double dash. Cross is close by. Zhao Denny does not have flash, has the Weaver's Wall if he has to use it, but he needs time to channel it, and I don't know if Porsche is going to give him that time. Flashes to get the stun. Zhao Denny has the Seraph Shield, but he is 100% caught, just trying to see how he can stall. The burn from the Liamdries will say not very long, and now Lotus might potentially look for a Baron turn here with the man advantage. Yep, they're starting it up.
Yeah, they have the burn, they kill Xiaodani, they are forcing the teleport onto PCL, but they are looking for this Baron buff. I like that they are instantly forcing out the teleport from PCL, and they just immediately disengage. They don't have a need for this Baron buff just yet. They already had a lot of control. They take out the threat from the split pushing potential from PCL, and immediately move towards the dragon. So they are going to get a second Cloud Dragon, a lot of movement speed for these members. And when you think about it, for Mixer and Robbie Bob, who have been the engagers, going to be quite ideal to have that movement speed.
Frost back up on the map though, looking to take control of this Baron pit. I like this recognition. They should be able to get a lot of vision down. Potentially look for a dive here onto Porsche as well. He's definitely have to succeed this tier 1 turret, and he will. Not the worst outcome for Xiaodani getting picked off at Gentle Hearts. The Drake stacking does get evened up, but like we talked about, them taking those first 2 earlier Drakes gave them a lot of stall time, and we're seeing it now.
Yeah, and now they are going to try and just equal out with what they were able to get. I like the fact that GHG doesn't just stay quiet with what they were looking for, right? Because we talked about trading when the tier 2 in mid lane fell down. And this time around, they actually find a really good avenue to find something. They get onto the top lane tier 1, they get the tier 1 plus vision onto the Baron buff. It's not a big victory, but it's something that will keep them in an important point in this game. Like, it's not going to give up control of the game like they were doing before.
Speaking of control, though, you can see how little control Gentle Hearts have for their vision lines because they don't have that Lotus mid 1 turret down. They have to set up for these depth brushes, and they can't get that far into the jungle because that turret is such a safety paddle for Lotus here, who will take control of that mid lane wave and look to push it up. Winters is looking for an engage. Here we go, Gentle Hearts finding their moment, but Mixture is going to lock down Xiaodani. They're trying to get to Sushi. He's kiting out so well, and he just deletes cross. Devin will now go with the killer instinct, but Sushi gets the arcane shift back out and kites it out expertly to make sure Devin can assassinate him. The president stays up for Lotus, and they wipe the fight off the back of it. It's only the solo lanes for Gentle Hearts still standing up, and maybe one of them won't be up for very much longer. Robbie Bob over the wall will find Xiaodani to make it 4 kills cleanly for Lotus.
Yeah, and while everyone was focusing maybe on the other side of the fight with Robbie Bob and Porsche, I was looking at Sushi and he kited out that well. I love the idea from GHG though. They decided to start it off with a Weaver's Wall plus the initial engage from Cross. If Cross gets the knockup plus the follow-up with Rel, and you have Devin as well following up, you can try and blow up this Ezreal. But he just simply has so much mobility, so much safety, that it just becomes really difficult to actually pull this off. And then on the other side, you have multiple players just being able to outplay and win the fight really effectively. This Aurora is really strong. It's a really chaotic pick, and he's really strong for what Lotus is trying to pull off, and it's just working out for them so well.
Yep, Lotus recognizing that they can play chaotic, and as long as they keep Sushi up and peel him well enough, Gentle Hearts look very scrambled. And this game is starting to scramble out of their control for sure. Approaching a 6k gold lead. They've lost a lot of their turrets, which you can see gives Mixture and Frost all the agency to just push up into that enemy jungle. Starting to feel like the boa constrictor is wrapping around Gentle Hearts for this game 1.
Yeah, it just feels like the control at this point with what Lotus is able to pull off is just simply way too much, and the players that needed to step up, Xiaodani.
Robbie Bob just drops the ultimate, traps Xiaodani in, gets the full combo out, forces the Zanyas, and Sushi will perfectly time a Mystic shot to find Xiaodani. Robbie Bob showing why Aurora might have a place in competitive play in North America right now.
And I think might have a place in the ban list, although thankfully for Fearless, this means that we're not going to see more, but teams will have to consider it in the future, as well as consider the fact that also the top lane inhibitor will fall down, and everything in favor for Lotus at this point of the game.
Yeah, and they're gonna look to push it, maybe go for the killing blow here. They're engaging onto Winter. Sushi will get hounded, but Cross does not get to him. The Arcane shifts back towards safety. Devin just can't find a way in, but Cross will execute Robbie Bob. Mixture and Porsche's health bars are low. Cross will fall down, but Devin's short rank Kaisa just can't find a way in. PCL doesn't have an angle without that World Ender. And Lotus won't be punished too heavily for over-pushing. Sushi might look for more. He's just 1v1ing all of Gentle Hearts right now. Winters is a wisp away from falling off, and Sushi's still shifting forward. He thinks he can win this bout against Xiaodani. Why not, Sushi? He goes legendary, and he certainly earned this status in game 1.
He just ordered a Xiaodani there, didn't allow for the Mystic shot to even matter in that fight, and she's just simply way too strong at this point. Once again, Sushi's working out massively for the side of Lotus, and everything is just working out well for them, even with Robbie Bob dying at the start of it.
Yeah, that was a play that looked like a way overextension, but I mean, this is that was a 3.5 item Ezreal, now a 4 item Ezreal, has that Bloodthirster done, still has Cleanse, and you can really see the power of that Spear of Shojin build. I mean, Ezreal's kit naturally rewards him for hitting skill shots on his cooldowns, but once you get that thing ramped up, this guy's just arcane shifting every couple of seconds. How do you play against it?
And he also is hitting his damage like he needs to, so it's just really difficult to get a hold of the Ezreal, and it's also really difficult to survive long enough that the Ezreal damage is not going to matter. Like, he's just simply way too strong, and now with 5 items plus maybe a blue buff, because why not, it's just going to be, oh wait, Robbie Bob.
Oh, Devin's caught between worlds. Robbie Bob does it again, singling out one member of Gentle Hearts and knocking them down, and Sushi might just cut down the front line himself, doesn't need the Mystic Shot like you mentioned. TDS gets it done with the auto. The last inhibitor for Gentle Hearts, not long for the world.
Yeah, it's just simply way too difficult for Gentle Hearts. I just don't think there's much they can do. They need a Hail Mary fight, but without their AD carry, I just simply don't know if they have it in them. The super minions are pushing,
Yep, and Frost wants to go for the killer blow, gets the engage on the Zhao Denny. He doesn't even get to move. What a play from the coach of Lotus, showing up when he has to take the 6 over, and he's going to get himself behind the super stardom of Sushi to a Game 1 win to lead off this series.
Well, look at the bright side. If you're GHG, Aurora is permabanned and Ezreal is permabanned as well for Sushi, so it's not like you're going to be going against either of those champions once again. Is that good news? Maybe.
It's a little bit of good news, but there also is the bad news that you lost to Lotus with Frost in, and if the internet issues are solved for Dardoch, he'll be back for game number 2. It's tough, but I think Gentle Hearts showed what they've always been in this tournament, is that they play to the level of their competition. That's why I think they lost those games in the early games of Switch, but when they go up against big time opponents, that's when they play their best League of Legends. It just was only their best League of Legends for the opening 15 minutes. After that, it got a little murky.
Yeah, the first 15 minutes were really good for GHG when you think about it, right? Like, they were performing really well. They were finding kills for Devin. They were doing a really good job at trying to put the strong point of the team in a great spot. And PCL and Cross were doing a really good job, PCL particularly at not dying, and Cross at setting up Devin. But then everything kind of became weird when Robbie Bob become part of the fights, as well as Porsche also becoming part of the fights. When those two factors came through, Lotus just completely demolished everything that GHG was trying to do. And yeah, one of the scariest parts is that Dardoch wasn't playing, and that's probably going to be a much better thing for Lotus than Frost. So it's a scary for GHG in reality.
Yeah, scary situation to be in nonetheless. Really fun though to watch Robbie Bob show why Aurora Ultimate's broken in a way. You just slam a certain part of the ground, and if you know the range of that circle, you could trap just one person in there. And you saw that with Devin and Zhao Denny towards the end of that game. So super fun to see Robbie Bob still learning new things for a guy that's been doing this at the tier 3 level for a very long time. But you won't have to wait too long for us to get to that game number 2. Gentle Hearts Gaming will have side selection themselves again, and we hope to see Dardoch, back in this Lotus lineup. We'll answer all those questions and more once we get back from a short intermission to see if Gentle Hearts can force us the distance, or if Lotus are going to move up to the upper bracket in Group B with ease. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everybody, to Aegis' coverage of the start OQ2 group stage action. Lotus have taken game number 1, despite the fact that their starting jungler had some internet issues that have been resolved since. It looks like Dardoch is back, and how nice does that feel for Lotus, especially after giving that first game win with their coach in the jungle spot?
Yeah, they didn't have their full roster and they won that game in a really good manner. So now that they have the actual roster, maybe it's going to be even better for them. Or maybe actually it's GG thinking, okay, now it's the real deal, we can win here. And they were going to win here, maybe.
Well, they're going back to the same recipe, at least from a draft standpoint, TDS, as we go live to see the draft kickoff soon. Everybody can see Gentle Hearts, they are still on that red side. So they like the idea of having a counter pick for one of their 2 solo lanes, is what I have to assume, as the draft does start off. Just one more little awesome graphics thing to make sure to direct everyone towards. Champions below myself and TDS are banned for both sides. Nobody can select any of them.
Exactly. Full fearless means nobody can pick any of these champions. That's why Aurora, even though she was really strong, it's going to be permaban for the remainder of the series. So it's going to be fun seeing what else they're going to opt into. GHG keeping their Ashe ban, and this is something you talked about, Slayer, right? Sushi playing Ashe or the Ezreal. If one is banned, you take the other. Now both are banned technically. So what does Sushi opt into? And it's not like he shies away from any other AD carry, but it's more so what he's going to bring to the table now that he has to look for other options.
I'm racking my brain because there's one game where they did ban both Ezreal and Ashe into Sushi. Okay. I'm blanking on the champion that he picked there. Hey, we might figure out what his pick is. Shyvana. We might figure out what his pick is nonetheless, as we can already see Dardoch re-entering the picture means the jungle bans change. You go away from your Sejuani Maokais to now taking away those volatile AP threats. The Zyra and Italy are 2 that Dardoch has gotten a lot of wins already this summer with, so that's the Dardoch impact for you.
Yep, and I still think Shyvana could be picked here. She's one of the stronger junglers. I feel like fits perfectly into what Dardoch does like to go for, but instead maybe the Rumble first pick. And the funny thing here is that I think you can still go Rumble flex, because you have Dardoch, you have Porsche, and even Robbie can play this in the mid lane in certain matchups. So not against the Rumble pick here. The variety or the flexibility that you have is quite great. And now GHG have to answer onto this without maybe not much information, but at the same time with maybe trying to go for the counter pick here for PCL. Corki though getting picked. Maybe you go for something like the Cassandra here instead of letting it be banned in the second phase.
Yeah, there's a lot of options up, especially if maybe you want to prio a certain AD carry for Devin. Might be able to get that on the turn though. The most times I've seen Rumble played, it has been Dardoch playing it in the jungle, so keep that in mind. I do agree though, still a very flexible champion between this Lotus roster. Nautilus was banned away from Winters on the turn in game number 1. This time he'll get it, he'll lock that one in, and I assume the Gentle Hearts are just leaving Devin's pick up here for that R3 turn before the second phase.
Yeah, it's going to be the next potential pickup here. The Maokai could be a Maokai in the support position. Could still be flex around. Like, it's not straight up a jungler for Dardoch just yet, but I like the fact that they are going to opt into the Maokai here, maybe for the lockdown that it does have great CC options, and you're going against a Corki, so point and click is going to be really ideal. Plus the Lucian, so maybe Robbie Bob Lucian in the mid lane, and then you add up another potential mix-up in the jungle. Well, for mid lane jungle duo, this is one of the better ones to try and lock down Corki. So you have the point and click CC plus the straight up damage from the Lucian, and you can try and burst him out.
I agree. I think that's what's going on. I'm just intrigued by the fact this is the first time Lotus have picked Rumble early and not given it to Dardoch in the jungle. Yep. Dardoch is playing probably the most passive jungler he's played in these last couple OQs. I mean, Maokai compared to his Zyras, his Karthuses, his Nidalees, his even Mundo, I think is less passive or more than this Maokai. Certainly interesting. That's an interesting R3 pick though. The Kennen locked in for PCL, looking to be the team fight maker in this one.
And this means that AD carries are going to be the focus now. Caitlyn gets banned away. Obviously, Kai'Sa, Ezreal, and Ashe are out of the window. So now you're left with kind of, I would assume Jinx would be one of the options that they are going to be looking at. Maybe Something like the Seri as well could be the other option that they are trying to pinpoint here. Kalista as well could be an option. It has been popping up quite heavily. And the Nocturne taking away here. So interesting choice that they are taking away for the side of Lotus, taking away the Nocturne from Cross. I would assume maybe the Xinjiao would be a much bigger priority for Cross than the Nocturne in my eyes.
Well, I was about to say, I swear I don't remember it because it got banned, but that was what Sushi picked the one time he didn't get Ezreal or Ashe in the Switch stage. He picked Xayah, so that's a really smart ban for Gentle Hearts. Like that one on the turn. We will have to see Sushi, maybe not for the whole summer, a new champion for the whole summer, but at least so far in this qualifiers, Sushi's 4th champion he's played so far, yet to be named. And there's another good ban for Lotus, the Misfortune, just a very powerful pick that Devin also, he just correct me if I'm wrong, played during some of those Swiss stage games for Gentle Hearts.
Yeah, if I'm not wrong, he did go for a Misfortune game. I thought it was a smart choice, but it didn't pan out as ideally as they would have liked to go for. The Seri gets picked here, something that we point out could be the choice. Jhin is also another one that's still available, but I feel like you go for the Jinx here just because it does give you the hyper carry value. Plus, it's not a bad lane to give for someone like Sushi. Now, this may be Illusion bot lane as well. That's still a possibility. It's not as strong, but it's still a possibility. And it looks like Jinx is going to be it. Yep, I like the play here. It's strong carry, nice for Sushi to try and play around with. You have the double AD carry as well. And if it's not Maokai support, I think you can go for a Lulu here because you already have kind of a nice lockdown with a Maokai. So having the extra support for the Jinx could be quite ideal.
It's funny that they were the ones that banned Braum. I think Braum would have been really good right here. Yep. I do think Lotus weren't gonna play.
Okay.
Whoa, all right.
Yeah, so that means that it's going to be the Maokai. So okay, yeah, I'm fine.
But that means Zardoc does not play passive jungler. He over-indexes. Yep. He's playing one of the most aggressive early game junglers possible. Hecarim is as feast or famine as it gets, and Dardoc just added another unique jungler to his repertoire in these qualifiers.
And he did get buffed, so on live he's actually quite a strong jungler. It's going to be the Trundle also getting picked here for Cross. It was banned away in the previous game, and we see now why it was banned. Gets picked immediately. But speaking of the Hecarim, has a lot of tools to try and impact the game. Obviously has his own gang setup with the fact that he can run into the lane and stun people. The ultimate can be so ideal to try and reach the backline, even if you don't have ways to reach the backline, just because you pretty much can go over people. And the Pillar of Ice is probably going to be one of the best tools to try and deny this Hecarim, because you just put it in front of the Hecarim, he kind of gets lost in position, and then you can try and play around that. But Lotus is going for quite an interestingly aggressive comp, and I think that GHG having a much more, much more quintessential composition. It feels like it's much more normal for them to play it.
I'm scratching my head a little bit at the Kennen pick though here, and the TDS, because
fair enough.
I think Lotus have a lot of go buttons, right? Like Dardoc's an obvious go button, Mixture's the obvious go button for them. And when you pick a Zeri and a Corki, it kind of leans in my mind that you want to play slower. You want to play reactive. Kennen is not a reactive champion. He is all about going in. So this Kennen is a little bit of a head scratcher. I wonder how much more powerful just a straight tank to absorb the push from Lotus might have looked here for Gentle Hearts.
I think the main thing with Kennen is when it was picked, right? It came in the 3rd pick before the 2nd ban phase, which meant that they were kind of putting themselves in a tough spot if that was not going to be the matchup. But they decided that 4PCL was going to come through. Now, PCL did play the Kennen before, so I feel like that is one of the reasons as well. He feels more comfortable with this champion. But I think that like you're mentioning, it probably feels much better for them to have just a straight-up tank. Because if you just play the long team fight, you probably feel much better. You have a tank to just soak up the initial engage or the initial force of damage from the side of Lotus. And then with the tank, you can just allow for the Seri and the Corki to ramp up on their damage and be able to carry on the fight. But there's a much bigger risk, and if you're able to kite out the Kennen, or much worse, if the Kennen doesn't find any angle to force a team fight, he kind of feels useless, and it happened to PCL in the Swiss stage, or in the previous stage, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So we'll have to watch out to see how this Kennen operates. Certainly fun, though, when we talked about the marksman matchup. It was already showing in game number 1. Now we just doubled the marksman in this one. We now have 4 marksmen on the Rift. And what's really fun and interesting about both of them is how I feel like both the mid lane marksmen are used in a lot of ways as like bridge damage. you know, Lucian power spike comes on a bit earlier. Corki power spike comes on early-ish. They
Yep.
both like to do a lot of damage in the mid game. And then the supplemental late game hyperscalers will then come online later. So it's gonna be fun to track how Robbie and Zhao Danny do in the early stage to be the main AD damage. And then when the handoff happens, for like Sushi to take the reins for Lotus, and then for Devin to take the reins for Gentle Hearts. Just fun little quirk that happened with this draft.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting to try and, like you're mentioning, build up on that damage. You have the double in the mid lane who can deal quite a bit of damage later on, but they are not going to be the hyper carries like the AD carries in the bot lane. Like Sushi and Devin are going to be the main ones to deal most of the damage when it comes to later game team fight. Well, actually, I kind of want to put a point on Corki because Corki can't really put out that huge amount of damage. It's just that it's sometimes it can either happen or it will just blow in his face. So it's kind of a fun dynamic. But with Devin and Sushi, they will 100% be the hyper carries, the ones that will deal most of the damage in the team fights. And having that AD carry, extra AD carry to build up on that, it's going to be a fun interaction, and really depends on who can play it off better on both teams, but also on both mid laners.
100%. And got two junglers as well on top of all that really want to play for the early game. Cross has that skirmish capability, but Dardoch on this Hecarim can gank every lane whenever he wants it. And we'll see how Dardoch looks now with the fully formed Lotus roster back, looking for the killer blow against Gentle Hearts. We are live from Summoner's Rift, and all eyes are going to be fixated on how does Dardoch navigate his first Hecarim game in years of pro play.
Has he played Hecarim even in pro play? Is something that I'm not even sure. Not saying that he can't, right? Like not saying he can't. I'm just
in
don't
all
know
of his time. I'm willing to bet all of his time at tier 1 playing jungle that he played a Hecarim game once, but I don't know for sure. I'm erring on the side of caution here, TDS.
Yeah, fair enough. Like he probably has, but just not 100% sure. Now, this is going to be an interesting mix-up because it's also been a while since we've seen Hecarim, right? Like it was quite a while ago where he felt the strongest, and it also felt like teams didn't want to go for the Hecarim as much compared to other just safer junglers. And now we're finally getting a chance to see him once again, and on the hands of Dardoch, probably going to be one of the better players to showcase his power.
Interesting little interaction there. Winters' dredge line forces Robbie to start E first on the solution, which is for pushing power, not what you want to go for. You obviously want that Q. So slight edge, a little bit of space created there for Zhao Danny by Winters. See how that evolves the matchup is both junglers look to start on their red sides, but Dardoch will be spotted with his first camp, unlike Cross.
Yeah, and also quickly, just apparently, yeah, he has played Hecarim before, so yeah, it's not like he's not known for playing this champion. Like he has played this champion before, and it's going to be fun seeing him playing it once again.
Without a doubt. We'll see exactly how early and often he decides to affect this rift. Is like we talked about in the draft. Cross's Trundle kind of wants to power farm for this Hecarim, like Nunu when Dardoch was playing Nunu. Honestly, camps are like a secondary key. Oh. Level 2 is a big key for both bottom lanes. Grab a mixture, immediately forces a cleanse out of Devin. Power of grabbing that level first. Robbie Bob, despite having to start the wrong ability in the mid lane, is already forcing Zhao Danny very low as well.
Yeah, that's the thing with Lucian. You can start the wrong ability, but it's still quite a bit of damage that you're able to get with your double up. Now, the bot lane trade, though, instantaneous cleanse by Devin. Really good play there. I like, though, that here, Winter or Gone by Spring, able to clear the vision, and this is something that in the previous game impacted the laning matchup. They get an early kill for Devin with gank from Cross, and this time around they are doing something similar, trying to keep vision as minimal as possible so that you can try and set up for Devin.
But Mixture still wants to lay down that vision, mostly to track Cross to aid Dardoch in his endeavors. Cross going for a bit of an invade himself, but he's going to find no camps on that blue quadrant. It's because Dardoch skipped over to clear his blue after he was spotted, taking his Raptors. Just another little mind game won there by the veteran jungler for Lotus.
Yeah, now there was a slight attempt there, maybe for Cross as well, to look into the mid lane, but there was no real chance to actually go for it. And there's no real advantage that Cross is able to get. This sort of a start is great for Dardoch, because he's ahead in CS, he's closer now to great power spike, the Hecarim that is level 6, and there's something to keep in mind with the Hecarim as well. He's one of those junglers that you ideally want to reach level 6, and then you try and force fights in the rest of the map, and oh, maybe they want to force here onto Devin.
Yeah, Cross here will grab that Scuttle Crab. Gets the pillar down on a Dardoch, who is a little bit caught. He pops the ghost. He's now chasing Xiao Danny like he wants a bit of a fight here. Waiting for Robbie Bob to swing over, but Gentle Hearts have the first rotation, and they're committing all onto Dardoch. The flash lockdown from Winters will grab first blood. Back-to-back games where Gentle Hearts are first to spill blood.
Yeah, and they're a little bit of a questionable idea there by both Dardoch and Robbie Bob. It's not necessarily bad to try and collapse, but the bot lane kind of disengaged before that play, and then they decided to go back in because of what was happening with Robbie Bob and Dardoch. So they kind of just wasn't in the same page as their mid lane and jungler, and quickly GHG took advantage of it and were able to get that first blood. It went into the hands of Cross though. It's obviously not the best target to get that. If Xiao Danny or Devin get it, it's much better, but it's still nothing bad as Devin,
oh, trap laid. Devin does not have that cleanse. The lockdown with the chompers and the twisted advance is nearly enough to find the kill. Flash from Mixture, styling on it to grab Sushi the kill. And just as Gentle Hearts find a foothold, the game gets even back out.
Yeah, flash from Mixer, flash from Sushi, but it's also a kill for Sushi. Huge value there, and they are going to try and push this wave just so that they can deny a little bit as well from Devin. Oh, nice attempt. I liked it. Oh,
what's going on the top side here? Cross flash out of the pit. No grubs taken on either side, it looks like, so maybe just caught trying to get some vision down.
Yeah, they are able though to push away Cross from the grubs. Or from the attempt at taking grubs, it looks like, because they haven't even spawned yet. And they also get the kill on the bot side for Sushi, which is the most ideal part, right? You get that first kill for Sushi, and he immediately goes for a BF sword.
Yep, immediately slams it. That's a really great first purchase. I assume this will be an IE rush. From yeah, IE rush, yeah.
Would make sense.
Kraken would have been Noon Quiver, so yeah, straight up IE rush here for Sushi.
Yeah, it would make the most sense, so not surprising that he's going there for that sort of huge amount of damage. And it's also probably going to spike really well to start it off to try and get damage at this point of the game.
Another trap being set in the brush here though, TDS, this time by Cross, who is waiting to see if Porsche may overpush. Does have the wave in a bit of a favorable position that is really stalling this out, and Cross, only level 4, is really delaying his scaling on this Trundle with every second he waits.
Yeah, even with that kill, it's just Dardoch has been able to clear much effectively. And that's one of the things in this sort of Trundle matchups, is that you are going to be effective early on, and your ultimate is always going to find value. But realistically, against a clear jungle like the Hecarim, you're not going to have the quickest clear speed, and it's going to be not going to be as easy for you. Oh, Porsche.
Oh, here we go. Kennen ult committed. They don't have, the Porsche does not have flash, so the pillar's going to really cut off his escape. Yep. And the gold funneled back into Cross will pick up his second kill, but all that time gave Dardoch a window not only to clear camps, but take this first drag in the name of Lotus for free.
And also they do, Porsche was able to just clear the wave as well, which means that they don't get as much value off of the top lane. Like, yes, BCL probably gets this crash and then maybe gets enough damage for one plate, but it's not going to be even more than that. Oh, Dardoch.
Oh, but Dardoch getting caught here, going for that gromp, nearly pays the price. Winter's waiting on cooldowns. Dardoch does not have that ghost available. He's waiting on his E to speed him up, but Devin gets his dash up first. Did Devin go too far though? Mixture, Robbie look for the re-engage. Great cleanse there from Devin. But Winters doesn't have that luxury. He's going to eat a Mega Death Rocket right to the face, and Robbie Bob will find a trade kill.
Yeah, big explosion in the face of Winter, and it is the second kill of the game for Lotus. Obviously, Dardoch dying is not the best, but you get a kill back for one of your carries, and carry getting a kill is always great to have. You want that sort of advantage if you're on the side of Lotus. Now, one for Delusion, one for the Jinx, and she's even going to be able to push into the turret, so she gets even more gold with that.
Even more funneled in towards this Jinx. Sushi looking to make his mark on this series as a whole. An all-inspiring Israel game from game one, and he's right back in to be the main carry Lotus wants him to be and expects him to be for the entirety of this qualifiers.
Yep, ideally that's what they are looking for, and if he's able to get there, well, would be the most ideal for them. As looking at just how this mid lane is going, Robbie's doing such a good job. He's just controlling so much of what is happening here, and Xiao Danny simply has not a lot of avenues to make this work out as effectively as possible. At the very least, just yet.
Robbie loves this Lucian matchup into other mid lane marksmen, and he's routinely just been bullying them off of the waves. And you're seeing it here from Robbie. I mean, the damage he puts out here, he's pushing his mana bar to the absolute limit. -1 to him for missing that cannon, Robbie. Sorry. I had to call it out.
Yeah, he lost a cannon.
Oh, might as well have both them. Xiao Danny lost one, too. Come on, guys.
Maybe it was actually him forcing the play there so that they both lose the cannon, and it's not as bad for him. Yeah, maybe that was the plan all along.
Some serious mental warfare being waged on a couple of early game minion waves, I have to say.
You know what? I'm all in for that. Early game warfare, mental warfare is always great to see, and it can break up a player if you're not careful enough. But now with that in mind, they are still pushing so heavily on the bot lane. They are still gaining so much control over on their side of the map, and even with the slight advantage they get by killing Dardoch twice, he's just simply ahead of the curve in terms of farming, and the gold lane is just still so close to them that it doesn't really matter.
Yep, the plates being answered on the top side here for Gentle Hearts by PCL. I believe he's taken down 2 himself, and that's also a reason it's keeping the gold close. Oh, no, just 1. I am a liar. 1 plate, though, to... Well, I guess 1 plate on each side. This bottom lane play might not be long for the world. I'm just waiting to see when Dardoch will really start ramping up here, because you talked about TDS. Once you get that Unstoppable Onslaught, or Onslaught of Shadows, excuse me, Hecarim ultimate down, that's when you really can start making plays, and the clock is ticking on Dardoch for his real big window with this Hecarim.
Yeah, we're just waiting to see when and where he is going to try and go for that first ultimate, and I'm excited to see who is going to be the beneficiary out of that.
Well, PCL though, looking for a pretty big trade into Porsche, slicing Maelstrom out to try and lock the stuns in. Porsche has flash if he needs it, but it's PCL to flash forward and PCL to find his solo kill. Finding his groove in the biggest of moments for Gentle Hearts.
Yeah, getting finally something back, and this is the first time we've seen PCL not only solo kill the opposing laner, but also just getting so much value out of that. Like, he's actually helping out the team in this instance, and we were doubters of what the cannon may be able to accomplish this game, but to start it off with a kill and an assist, at the very least, bodes well for them.
Yeah, I mean, I was worried about how the cannon fits in, but if it's a fed cannon, then yeah, start every fight you want, man. You have too much damage to even worry about what the rest of your team's doing. Hold on, Mixture. Pull the trigger in an instant. Another great cleanse though by Devin. That's ult and summoners off of Mixture. Depth charge committed there by Winters. There's the Mega Death Rocket. Another great reaction from Devin. He's got the hands, but he also has both his summoners blown.
Yeah, but a slight mistake there by Winter.
Wait, Sushi answers with a mistake of his own. Walks right into a Winter's dredge line and gives Devin a major kill.
Exactly, getting an important kill there for Devin. And I was just about to say how Winter kind of messed up Devin there because he kind of moved away from the rocket and Devin was first to flash. But Sushi responding in accordance with a big mistake of his own, ends up dying there, gets the IE, or actually sells the... Okay, so he's going for the Graves, the Berserker Graves instead. But the mistake from Sushi does mean that Devin now gets kind of back into the game really effectively, and he's able to get that first static shift really quickly.
Now, like we talked about last game when he was talking to Kaisa, he's going against a Sushi build where he's going for the most expensive item again. IE is up there with the Triforce, and static shift is still very cheap, so Devin will have that slight advantage in the item discrepancy. See where both these teams decide to go. Grubs are even, and Gentle Hearts want to even out that Drake count as well, with winners getting down some preliminary awards.
They are just trying to take out the vision for each other, just clearing up as much as possible and not giving any information for the enemy team. It's going to be an answer in terms of dragons as well here. 1-for-1 for both teams, unless they try and force a fight, but kind of scary.
Yeah, Cross has a big item spike of his own. He's got the blade, the Ruin King, but you know what beats Smite? A giant shotgun shell flying through the air, and Sushi steals a pretty key dragon for Lotus.
Yeah, what's standard to a rocket, right? Like what? There's a big difference between both of them, and Sushi able to steal that dragon, and actually kind of important because it is going to be the Infernal Soul. So you put yourself already 2 dragons ahead of the enemy team. You're setting yourself up for success for a potential soul, but you also buy yourself time. Like you don't need to fight a soul immediately just because you're able to have that safety net with the first 2 dragons.
Exactly. That was the safety net the Gentle Hearts had to stall out the game pretty well. Every dredge line I held my breath from Winters onto Sushi's head, especially as this is a
Porsche, not
Jinx.
again.
Porsche once again caught by PCL's Might slicing Maelstrom. Tons of damage pushed through. Doesn't find the kill originally, but he's got Cross to cover him. Lotus, though, Porsche, though, the wave's not in his face, so he will try and stick this back. He has teleport if Lotus want to look to return and fight this one out further. Rally Bob now pretty close to Zhao Danny. Remember, PCL does not have the slicing Maelstrom, so a lot of the agency for this top side for Gentle Hearts cut down, and yeah, they don't want anything to do with any further fighting.
Yeah, they are not going to force it there, and they are just immediately dissuaded from forcing any fight. Actually, just even going to potentially lose out on this Herald because there was a movement from the bot lane from Lotus. But this time around, even with Dardoch, feels weird, but the game going much better for GHG with Dardoch.
Another really smart.
Immediately.
From Sushi. Cross coming back in, doesn't get the steal, but likes his odds against Dardoch. Yes, uses ult to go over the wall, and meanwhile, Robbie Bob just gets bursted down by PCL. Rift Herald had to pay a high tax. Mid laner down for Lotus.
Yeah, and they get Robbie Bob in a really good manner, and the big mistake there is how they were trying to play that out after they got the Herald. There was no response for the rest of the team. They were not ready for trying to support Dardoch in that position, and it just meant that they capitalized on the mistake and able to get that potential kill in that position.
Big position. This is alluding back to game number 1 all over again, TDS, and what timing to have this conversation at that 15-minute mark, because game 1, this was exactly the tempo. Gentle Hearts were finding early kills, early picks, but the small, more nuanced plays, the plates taken, the CS leads in the jungle and in other lanes was what kept the gold lead close and really made so that when Lotus went to play their 5v5, they were just much better. We're right in that same ballpark, despite the fact that we have 2 different junglers.
Yeah, and weirdly enough as well, because of how the game is going, I just can see Lotus completely turning around one of those fights later on as well. Especially Sushi completing the IE means that extra damage for this Jinx. She's going to have enough attack speed to be a worry for the side of GHG. And if they are not able to stop her, then the game is going to become much difficult.
So fun that we have 4 marksmen all scaling up on their own, and a ton of teamfight agency available on both sides. The real X factor in this game could just be PCL. I've seen a Kennen take over a game, but the Kennen is not a part of this bot lane skirmish, as Cross is getting killed out. Lightning crash down for Devin, but it is going to be Cross that's locked down and killed off by Sushi. Jungler traded. PCL flashing over the wall. The depth charge and the stun lock is coming across onto Sushi. Will the barrier be enough to survive? The dredge line won't be. What a find by Winners, and now Devin can just push the tempo forward, knocks both marksmen down in an instant. Gentle Hearts explode with Zhao Danny also finding a kill. That's 4 for GHG in the snap of a finger.
Yeah, but importantly in that fight, it's obviously Robbie Bob TPing into that fight and PCL as well, but Robbie Bob TP'd with less than half health. I'm pretty sure Zhao Danny just blew up onto Robbie Bob really effectively there and took half of his health out. And then PCL coming in with the ultimate, with the point and click CC onto Sushi. Even though the Jinx was running pretty fast, she was barely able to escape. And in that sequence, it's just really easy to follow up on the kill. Great play by the side of GHG, and it's setting up to maybe putting us into a really interesting spot in this series.
Yeah, I mean, there is huge leads for PCL and Devin by this point. 2 items done for Devin, even if they are a little bit on the cheaper side. PCL, gotta think he's not far behind wherever he's gonna take this needlessly large rod. And like we talked about, it's funny how the one problem child we saw in the draft with this Kennen actually is going to work out, because PCL is able to grab that big lead and might even get more here. He does miss the first Suriken, so it's going to nip the damage he can push onto Robbie Bob a little bit more. And yeah, actually pretty even trade. But you know what, uneven's a trade. 2 more members showed up to your lane. Winters, though, this is a really weird dive. He finally takes 4 turret shots. Devin's going to clean up, but that rocket nearly made it a trade in a 3 versus 1.
Yeah, could have been the difference maker there, but they are finding the kills. But the objective is going into the pockets of Lotus, and I'm honestly not even sure if that was worth it, because Soul Point now to obtain. Once again, it's Infernal Soul for a Jinx and a Lucian, and even a Rumble, but they are going to lose 3 turrets potentially.
Yeah, Trundle in the jungle still likes to shred turrets. I don't know if Devin can pick up this tier 2 himself as well. A lot of shit going on the map right now. They dropped the Rift Herald on top of that towards this bot side with Dardoch. Are they trying to match turret for turret on this top side? Yeah, I mean, but Shelly's just caught. So maybe Lotus pushing a little bit too quickly. They just whiff Rift Herald completely.
They have pretty useless Rift Herald there, and they are not able to find any sort of value. Plus the 3 turrets that were obtained by GHG there, and even if, and I just want to put this out right now, even if Lotus ends up winning this game, which is not out of place because of the champions that they have and the players that they have, this game makes Lotus not look that great, and GHG actually ends up looking quite good when all is considered.
Yeah, I mean, for a team like Lotus, all we talk about is how they are so composed and really calculated with a lot of their macro decisions specifically. Of course, these guys have the hands compared to most people, but when we talk about upper echelon of the qualifiers, your macro decision making and draft execution is what really matters. And I'm glad you highlighted TDS, because that entire escapade of turret demolition really favored Gentle Hearts.
100%. It's just a much better way of playing out the game in these situations, and it's kind of weird that it's happening against Lotus, which should be a much smarter team in how they approach certain things, but so far it's just working out much better for GHG. Now, it's still a game that Lotus can 100% win, and it's something that we need to bring up, because yes, it's not looking the greatest, and the gold lead is 6,000 gold in favor of GHG, but Lotus has double marksman. They have a Rumble that has the equalizer that can be a great ultimate, and a Hecarim. We cannot also take away his damage from the equation. Like, they can burst out someone like the Corki or the Suri really quickly if they're able to force onto it, and this Baron buff, it's actually a really smart idea. They are going to be way too late for this.
Yeah, they were spotted taking it. Porsche is teleporting from the bot side. This could be a big 5v5. This could be PCL's moment to shine. He's waiting off to the side, and he's targeting Sushi. He's going to go in and just burst through onto Sushi. Doesn't pick up the kill because the rest of Gentle Hearts are getting cut down on the backside. Dardoch goes in. Devin falls trying to kill off Robbie Bob. And Gentle Hearts just push their tempo a little too strong.
The idea was not bad there, but their decision there is just simply a little bit too late, and that was the scare of it, right? Like that was the fear. Sushi didn't die, and the rest of the members do die from the side of GHG. Now PCL is going to try and stop this, but they have so much damage in their favor, and Sushi needs to be a little bit scared of the damage from the Corki and the cannon. But now it's going to be Baron buff in favor of the side of Lotus, and it's before Dragon is even close to spawning. It's 2 minutes. This means that all the standing gold that is left on the map can be taken away. You have the turret in the mid lane, you have turret in the top lane, you have even tier 2s to consider. So all is just perfectly there for the side of Lotus to take back so much gold and turn this game around. What a bad fight for the side of GHG and Lockley.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, TDS, but it was what we were worried about.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a great fight for PCL, but the comp is not designed to follow him for these engages.
And even, I'm pretty sure there was exhaust there by Mixture, which did take away some of the damage. But also, while PCO was doing his whole engage on the side, the ultimate from the Rumble ate away from what the cannon was capable from the side of GHG. And it's a funny thing, because it's something that I was able to comment on when I was watching GHG back in the previous stage. PCO played Rumble and played cannon. And one of the main differences that I talked about with cannon Rumble is that with Rumble you can just press R from a safe distance and you can win a fight. Not the same with cannon.
And you're seeing it here as PCL once again looking for a big flank angle. Will cut him down, engage down for Mixture. The equalizer will push Devin off. They're trying to burn through Winters, but Devin is unleashed, gets the lightning crash down. Sushi gets excited, flashback from Devin. Dardoch has him marked and going right after.
Sushi
is way too excited and way too strong. They don't get to the Jinx in time, and Sushi's just gonna knock them all down. Once again, Lotus sets up their AD carry to be the superstar.
And they win another fight with great play, setting up for Sushi for success. And it's going to be 1 turret, it's going to be 2 turrets, potentially 3 turrets, and a dragon that is spawning in 20 seconds. And that's Soul for the side of Lotus as well.
And with Sushi getting excited off those turret takes, the minigun just gets even faster. That's an inhibitor down, and what poetic timing. You mentioned it, TDS. Infernal Soul Drake hitting the rift in 5 seconds after they knock an inhibitor down.
It's just all perfect there for the side of Lotus, and now everyone is moving there. They don't have teleports on the side of GHG, so even if they wanted to try and force a fight, doesn't look like the DL place to try and go for it, and that just means the Baron buff was one thing, but now the Infernal Soul for an already strong Sushi and Robbie buff, it's a scary fact.
And the items are starting to stack up. The gold lead evaporated. At one point was nearly, I believe, over 4,000. Since then, all the way down into the negatives for Gentle Hearts, and the woes of game one hurting again here with the series on the line.
Yeah, it's not the most ideal thing to be on as GHG, where pretty much the series is going to be over after this. But I think as a look for GHG, it's not a bad look. It could have been much worse for them, and it's just setting them up for a potential nice run if they are able to make it happen in the lower side. Oh wait, Robbie Bob.
Death Rush time. PCL pops out. Robbie Bob immediately flashes. That slicing Maelstrom down, and a lot of the agency out of the Gentle Hearts' hands.
Yeah, they did blow the flash from Robbie Bob, but really smart from him to check that beforehand. And no, that's not gonna work out.
Oh, Mixture getting burned down, though. The turret does finally fall, and Mixture will be able to twistedly advance his way out. Another turret down, more standing gold into the hands of Lotus.
Yeah, they do get that gold really effectively. Once again, they did blow the flash from Robbie Bob, which I think it's not necessarily a bad thing. Getting that flash off of the Lucian does mean that it's going to be easier to try and kill him. But yeah, it's not looking the best for GHG. Like, that was one of their best opportunities. Getting that death push and then pushing on could have been the most ideal thing for them, but it's not. It didn't work out that well.
Now, what are they really relying on, TDS? An Elder flip by this point, I would assume?
Yeah, actually, that's not a bad plan by them, in reality, because the Elder flip, obviously, it's a flip at the end of the day, and you depend on them not making the most out of that potential dragon. But at the same time, it's the only way you win against a composition that has this much damage and also just has this much control. If you win a fight in Elder, everything kind of goes out the window.
Yeah, all bets are off. It is just pure pandemonium when playing for that Elder.
Yeah.
Lotus are playing to knock down that last tier 2 turret, though, even despite the fact they don't have Baron, which does mean the waves can get cut down. Problem for Gentle Hearts. Yeah, you put the words out of my mouth, TDS. They have to answer that mid wave and likely will have to surrender their last out of the base turret.
Yeah, it's not easy to try and protect this turret, but it's not going to be the inhibitor turret, which is fine. Like, it's not the most difficult turret to try and protect. And once again, it's also the mid lane inhibitor that they lost. So at the very least, if they are going to protect something, it's going to be the easiest turret to protect, which is the mid lane one, or the easiest inhibitor to protect.
We'll still have to continue this turtle. Gentle Hearts seemingly more and more content by the minute playing for this Elder. Man. I mean, that was, what, a couple of E's, and the Flame Spitter nearly burning Zhao Danny from Porsche's hands alone.
Yep. That plus also the, what is it called? The Infernal Soul, taking into account there as well. So, yep, all of that working out marvelously in that position for, PCL.
Oh, PCL, not where you're allowed to back, my friend. You've got no turrets outside your base. Dardoch will punish that aggressive back and once again cut away the main team fight for Gentle Hearts for the next 45.
That was a really quick way to burn a squirrel. Oh, Sushi. I think he actually wins this.
Yeah, and he gets Devin's cleanse by a well-placed Chompers. Sushi's playing his own utility by this point. What can this guy do? Oh my god, they might keep pushing the temple with their second marksman. Robbie Bob drops a culling through. Another zap. Snipes Cross. Infernal Soul. On the flank. There's a leech cross. He doesn't even get the subjugate off in time before he falls. And this might just be the killing blow for Lotus. Mixture wants it. He flashes all the way after Zhao Danny. Sets Sushi up for the first kill. And now Jinx is excited, raining down the zaps, the rockets, the minigun. All of it coming together climactically for Sushi's quadra kill and Lotus's clean 2-0 sweep to kick off the GSL stage.
Let's take the clean up of that, but oh wait, maybe a penta?
Sushi. Maybe a penta? Oh, PCL doesn't want to give it. The minions block the zap and Dardoch takes it.
Dardoch stealing the pentakill at the end, but you know what? Devin got back-to-back quadra kills, and I think that's still commendable. Sorry, Sushi.
I mean, maybe more than commendable. I mean, what a series for Sushi here in this one.
Yeah.
18 kills total in this series. I might actually be 20. My math, we don't like to do math on stream here, but I mean,
We don't need
he
to.
had that is the Sushi that if he can play like that against anybody in this qualifiers,
Yeah.
TDS Lotus might just win the #1 overall seed this time around.
Well, I think that's the case, but it also depends on how Lotus show themselves, right? Because this game
100%.
is not a good indication from Lotus, right? I think Sushi played great. I think also Mixture played great. But the top side left a little bit to desire. Robbie Bob had amazing game 1. Game 2 had a little bit of mispositioning, but he was still winning the mid lane. But Dardock and Porsche, questionable in general. I think they win off of the fact that they are probably the stronger team and have the stronger players. But as Lotus, the expectation should be much higher. And if we want to see them being able to contest someone like Dragoon Scoons that will get stronger, obviously, the longer it goes, then they need to have a better performances going forward.
Without a doubt. Looks like all of the broadcasts for the first day of GSL stage have gone and went with 2-0s. At some point, thank you, Titan, for rating.
Yeah.
Hopefully you've caught some of that game too, but there's not much more for you viewers. I'm assuming since you guys are here, the Ducky Getters 2-0, their matchup. I'm seeing on NACL 2. Yeah, go Ducky. I'm seeing on NACL 2 that they are potentially breaking down their broadcast. So that might mean that we had a 2-0 win for Apex Mission Impossible, who fun fact are the one team, one slot out of the promotion tournament in points right now compared to Gentle Hearts Gaming over there. So certainly going to be interesting for the promotion tournament. Those points already becoming very valuable. But that does end our broadcast today, ladies and gentlemen. Lotus back to their winning ways, still looking pretty unstoppable unless you're a team that his name is pretty similar to Dragoon's Goons, maybe the exact same. So we'll see if Lotus can keep it up. We'll see how Gentle Hearts fare in the lower bracket. Aegis will be back tomorrow with some more GSL action. TDS will return. You'll have Gordo back as well. Big shout out. Thank you for Aegis, as always, for allowing me to come on here and do what I do. Shout out to PVS, our producer behind the scenes as well. Don't know where the raid's going, but make sure to be back here tomorrow, folks. That's the big thing. Until then, enjoy your Saturday night and take care.
You